Hi, my name is Ollie Payne, and this is my assignment for mobile development. I think it's CS496 at Oregon State. I created a, a, a I guess I created a jQuery mobile app. Here's my go at the iOS one, but it would take too much time to do, to be quite honest with you, and I had to kind of rush to get this done. So I use jQuery my mobile or jQuery mobile. So we can just pretty much you won't be able to see my thumb, but so let's say I click here. That was a old one I created. So let's say I create a new user, okay, and we're going to say this user is Oregon, okay, and then we're going to take a picture. You can use your photo library, but we're just going to take a photo. And if we take a photo, well, a problem occurred with that, so I guess that's an internet connection. So let's try it again. Let's do Oregon. Choose file, take photo, use photo. As you can tell, the photo loaded. We're going to say email. We're just going to also say Oregon, and for password we're just going to say Oregon as well. And as you notice, it was a lowercase O when I entered it. Now pick a brokerage. We're just going to say Trade King. And what we're going to do is total cash amount. Let's just do $10,000. Okay. So now if we sign in, what's going to happen is it goes to the next page. Now, ideally, I'll show you the online one and all the information I was going to do, but I pretty much, that was the post that you just saw. And the information that came back was a JSON string, which I took that information and based upon the results of it, I allowed them to come here. Now, I didn't show any information on this one just because I already showed my post, and I'm leaving something for the final. But let's say we go back and we know we created a user of Oregon State, or I mean Oregon. So let's just go back to the main page. So if we go back to the main page and we try to create another user and we do Oregon State, or Oregon, which we just created, and the reason I did it for email is because everyone only has, you can only have one email. No one can have the same email. So it's no real, I just didn't put the ad, I didn't do the verification for that just because the testing, we're just testing right now. So doesn't matter the amount of money we're going to put in, but let's say we sign in, and what's going to happen is we get an error up here and this email already has the account. Now ideally, yes, I'm going to have to erase all the input, but all we had to do is the post, so it really wasn't necessary. Now we know that Oregon is a valid user, so let's go to an existing user and let's enter the information that we know we just put in. Oregon, Oregon. Okay, so now if we go to sign in with this, it's going to say look like you just created a counter, log back in, current total 1,000. That's the information that we get in. So that's the get, and the login was the actual post. So I do a post to a get. Now, for example, let's say we do that all over again. And we're going to say existing user, and we're going to say Oregon, which we know is a valid email, but let's just put pass for the sign-in. Now if I do that, what's going to happen is, as you can tell, it won't let you log in. Now, I know ideally I should probably put something very similar to the new user, but I mean it wouldn't be too difficult. I just have to grab the line that has this and change it. I think if I just update things real quick, that'll work. But I mean, we're making a video, so it doesn't really matter because I showed you with the new user. So now if I just log in with Oregon again, it'll of course work. There you go. That was the error catch message. I just didn't eliminate it yet. But basically, as you can tell, so Oregon's Oregon. So now we can tell here on this page that Oregon was put in as a user. Oregon, lower password. And then we have this, which is the image. That's just how Google App Engine stores the image. Now, luckily I have a UI, so if we go to the UI, and the UI can do some things that the app just can't do right now. But let's say we go to existing user, we know it's Oregon, and we know it's Oregon, and we sign in, and it takes us here. And let's say we go and buy something that doesn't exist. You can't buy something that exists right now. I still have to finish the logic. Taking a lot of classes, so I haven't had too much time to do it. Or I'm really just rushing things with the 8-week quarter. But so let's buy something that doesn't exist. Let's just call it T, or let's buy 5 shares of T test. I don't think that's something that's in the store, and we'll say it's a price of, let's say, $20, which realistically you wouldn't buy anything with 5 shares, but just for the purpose of an example. So let's submit the action, and as you can tell, this comes up. It includes that $4 fee that you signed up initially because you said you had a TradeKey account. Okay, so the reason I did that is just to show you that if I go back to the web app, and let's log out of this. Let's log out of this. So let's log out of this. And logging out of this, and we go to existing user, and we know it's Oregon with a lowercase Oregon. Again, it's using the post and that, and as you can tell, the current total changed because it's interacting with the API. Because if we go back here, we can tell that that's the new price, and let's say we do another buy 6 of this at $8, submit the action, that goes there. We go back here. I guess this is overkill, but I just want to show you that it works. And as you can tell, the price changed. Now I didn't do any things there. didn't edit it, but as you can tell, the price is what the price is here. It's just that this is rounded up. I have to implement that. But if we look at the code, and we want to go to the post statement, it's pretty long, and I know I'm over the limit, so I'll try to rush through this. So the post statement that we do use is going to be homework right here. So it checks to see if it's a JSON call. If it is, it does that. If it's not, I had to just collect all the post items and then take out the array, or however you want to call it, then turn it to a string, or convert it to a dictionary. And then based upon the dictionary, I just grabbed the information, and I could either, if it was an old user, verify, and with my verify, I used a API old user, and I mean that's just some more code up here that you probably don't want to go through. But just to say it's here, it pulls all the established emails and passwords out of the database, checks to see if both of those things exist, and what we're gonna say for the new user, and it returns a response. If the answer is yes, the API old user returns just if email is yes, or that's if email's in the database. So if the username exists, is true, and the sign in is true, then it returns yes, or else it returns a valid password, or return an invalid name or password. So basically, when this gets it here, if it returns invalid password or the answer is invalid name or password, then I know it's going to be an error. We're going to send a JSON as error and then what exactly the error was. And then if it's a new user, it's a little bit more complicated because the way I set up my database, there's a lot of things in play, as you can tell. A user there's a lot of brokers, a brokerage. A user has one broker. A stock, there's a lot of stocks, but only a few stocks are owned, and that's why user is associated with the owned stock in that regard. So then I don't have to store so many stocks, I just have to store the stocks that someone owns, and then it just makes everything easier. But not to get into too much detail, just to rush through this, basically this does the same thing. New, pulls all this information. After you make it a dictionary, you convert it to a dictionary, and then when it just replies to all these messages. It uses a couple more functions than the previous one. It uses create a user, and it takes all that information, and then create a user basically I mean, it just looks so long because I still have to refragment it. A lot of code's repeated. I was just in a rush to finish. But of course, get the broker's cost. This is just a function that records the cost, the name, the key. Once you have the key, you need the key to create the user. And then also we check to see if the email is in the database. If it is, the email has an account, and that's the message that it returns. And all of this basically is just returned here with the answer that it provides. Now, if you look at the code itself of the app, which I mean it's not the prettiest by any means. You're looking at basically this is the submitted information. Here's the function we go to. So once they click the name, what it does is I probably should have made this a little bit better, but so let's say once they click the name or they click the button, basically if it's new sign in, we collect all these informations, we take a post statement, and we do a function PHP. I had the biggest difficult time with this because I thought that you could just do all this in jQuery, but you couldn't because it was cores or cross cross-browser API pull. So basically I had to do it in PHP. So I took all this information, I took the data, and then what this function data returns is it returns the answer. So basically I call function PHP. If we go to function PHP, and we can tell if the decision is old or new. This is for the get statement, so avoid that. So let's say it's an old, just for purpose of sakes. We take that information, the password, we put it into an array, we JSON code it. Basically, once we JSON code it, we take the already known API address, homework, and we do a curl of that, and then what that does is we close that, and like I said, it just would take you to this with all of those variables in play, the homeworks post with all the variables in play. It would return back an answer, and then the way I did that was in the jQuery, within the jQuery. So if the data success, so it returns back a data. So let's say hypothetically we had a good user input for a new user. So in this, if everything was successful, this is old user, but if everything was successful for new, if it equals success, we would return a JSON string that says success, new user created. So now in this regard, so after it did that post, let's say it was a success, it returned back that string. So then we put we turn that string that it returned and we put it into an object, and then we just say data success, because we know that the return statement is either going to be success or error. In this case, it's success, new user created. And in that regard, we're saying check to see if success is new user created, and if it is, we change it to the second page. Now, if it's not, we go to the new notice span or ID, and we enter this email is already in the account, like you saw. Now, the thing with the old user, we actually did the exact same thing. Well, this is the get statement. But with the old user, we did the exact same thing. We passed those variables, and it is the same, except the success is valid user. We go to page 2, and then what we do is we're going to take the email again, and then we do a get statement. And then when we do the get statement, we pass these variables in, and we go to the get statement. Oh, okay, that's when we get the variables back. So we go to the get statement, and if we look up here in the get statement here to the same page, it goes to the get, and then if the email is correct, so if it was a get, this PHP is terrible, but I was just in a rush. So if it goes in a get and it says email, and the query string is email, it just goes to the website plus the email, because that's the get statement. And it's basically going to return all the content or all the information that's available. Now, this get statement here that we did is a completely different API. It's the one we did for the one I did for the first homework. So basically, with this get statement, if you look at it again, I can basically get one user's information. So I take the email, and then based upon the email, I just basically check to see if all this stuff is valid, and it returns error if it's not a valid. But if it is valid, it returns a JSON struct of all the user, the user's key, the start total, the current total, and of course the broker's key. But that's all within the whole system of how things work. But basically it returns a JSON string, and what we do is we do very similar to the post. We take all that information out. And we take the user's information, the current total, and the start total, and then we just do welcome back, start total, and current total, like you saw on the page. And that's basically, for the most part, how everything works. There's a get, there's a post. It's a mobile app. It shows errors, and that's pretty much everything. I know I ran through that and I went over the time, so I do apologize if you have to watch all this. But I made all the requirements for the project. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks for watching. Bye.